Gridiron Grinder! Hut hut hike!
All right, we're rolling. It's Gridiron Grinder time. How's it going tonight, James?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
It's good. Good. It's Friday night, ready for the weekend. Same old, same old. Tonight is episode 22, if I'm counting things right. As we said here, I'm Ryan, you're James. This is Gridiron Grinder. Basically, we're going to be providing our weekly NFL team power rankings and game picks. And so, James, every week it seems recently we've been just kind of recapping, some of the events and some of the games from this past week. We got to talk about the Lions, man. Let's just start there. They finally pulled the trigger. They blew it up. What do you think?
Oh, I popped the champagne as soon as I heard the news. I was walking out the door and the TV was on, and there was some game or something, and I see at the bottom, breaking news: Lions fire Patricia. And I think I instantly, as soon as I saw it, I sent you a text with like 5,000 exclamation points.
Oh yeah, it's exciting. I mean, it's I'm trying to, I'm happy, but I'm also concerned, and like I tell you, that one of the things that bothered me immediately is that they should have came out and they should have fired him and made the announcement first thing Friday, after that embarrassing beatdown on Thanksgiving. And it did bother me that they waited until Saturday to make that announcement. It's like, what are they waiting for? Are they really on the fence about this? Like that kind of made me concerned. And then, I try to just keep it in perspective with the team and, the potential of another rebuild now. And it's like, between Quinn and Patricia, and you look at the guys they brought in and the bloated fucking contracts, we're going to be stuck with kind of like a mixed match group of players for at least a few years, unless they want to get aggressive and bite the bullet and start just cutting people like crazy. In which case, I thought I read online that even if they started cutting people, because we're past like a certain point in the year, the dead cap hits wouldn't take effect until 2022. And so it's like, you're basically saying you're basically saying 2021 we're fucked, 2022 we're fucked, 2023 is really where the rebuild starts. So that's that's kind of the bummer about this, is that this regime, they got a little aggressive at the end. They signed some bad deals, and now the next regime has to live with it.
Yeah, well, that's what happens when going into the season you give them an ultimatum. They should have just fired him at the end of last year.
Oh yeah.
They should have known things weren't going to get better. I don't understand why they came into this year with him still as the coach and Quinn still there, and there. But that just like made me depressed that it's like the dead cap hit won't be till 2022.
And that's assuming they even do something. But,
yeah,
we got a lot of guys that basically just got signed either this past year or the year before that are on just some mega deals that the output's not been there. I mean, we called it out in the preseason. Jamie Collins, really, could you justify paying him what we paid him? I mean, he already had that same thing happen with Cleveland, and they cut him like a year into the deal because he just didn't live up to it. In my opinion, we messed up our sequence here in extended Taylor Decker when the priority should have been on Galladay. Decker's not been lighting the world on fire. Why are we fucking paying a premium for him, man? I would have, let him sweat a little bit, see if we could get him for the right price. And if we couldn't, fucking throw him back in the water, man. There'll be another fish out there. And, and I don't know. There's just a lot of them, dude. There's so many of them. Trey Flowers, I was excited about him coming in because I thought, hey, we're going to have a real solid guy on the defensive line. But then the contract they gave him was just so astronomical that he's never going to live up to it. Unless he fucking comes out of nowhere and has like a 20-sack season, we're going to be saying the same thing, that it's a lot of these guys that, basically they're set up to fail, at least in the eyes of the fans. And it's going to make it really hard on this next regime.
Yeah, but the next regime, like if we're looking at 2023 before before anything can happen, really. Is the next regime going to really make it till then? Or we're looking
Oh
like two
no,
regimes down
no.
the line?
And that's the thing that makes it really interesting is that basically any smart coach or GM is going to see that and be like, fuck this shit. I'm not doing that. Or you're just going to have to find a guy that's like super green and, they're willing basically just to come in and fall on the sword and, get their asses kicked for 2 years and maybe pull off a miracle and then have like a career as a coach. But otherwise, they'd be happy at least having the opportunity of having a couple years to give it a shot.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe just keep Bevel there for a little bit,
You
and
could.
then and then
I've heard a lot of the players like Bevel. I mean, that's, it's something to look at. I'm sure he'll get a good look.
yeah. But I mean, it's really iffy putting the interim play caller, interim head coach, and then giving him a job. Like look at Kitchens. Like they did so good after they fired shit. Who was the coach?
Oh, Hugh
Was it
Jackson.
was it was it Hugh Jackson?
Yeah.
I was thinking, wait, was Hugh Jackson Cincinnati or was Hugh Jackson
Well, he was the
Cleveland?
offensive coordinator in Cincinnati for a while, but yeah, he was the head coach in Cleveland when they had the 0-16 run.
Yeah, and then no, was he there like at the beginning of Baker's career, and then they fired him?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And then they fired him and what's his face, defensive guy or Greg Williams?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Was it Greg Williams? And because he was in with the Saints, and then they had that that
Yeah,
scandal thing, and then yeah,
the
and I think
guy from
yeah.
he went over to Cleveland from Pittsburgh.
Um, was he in Pittsburgh? No, no. You're thinking of the old Lions player that man, I forget his name, but he was awesome. It'll come to me. Dick LeBeau.
Yeah, no, not LeBeau. It was
Oh,
anyways, I thought he was from Pittsburgh. It was the offensive coordinator, not defensive coordinator that they
oh,
fired.
Bruce Arians
No, Bruce Arians
went to
was
Indy and then
yeah,
Arizona, now Tampa Bay.
yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, when they fired Hugh Jackson, they fired the offensive coordinator too, and the offensive coordinator thought that he was going to get the interim job, and they're like, nope, you're fired as well.
Ah, gotcha.
And
Yeah, and hey, Cleveland, they're I mean, for years we could say they were about as big of a shit show as Detroit, but honestly, they're looking pretty damn good now.
yeah, they're looking pretty good. I'm still not sold on Baker, but I mean, hey, like his games without touchdown passes were like shit weather. So
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing just enough to keep that. I mean, I read a stat or heard a stat this week that with Chubb playing, they average 199 rushing yards a game.
It's insane. Chubb's a beast, and then obviously
Yeah,
they got Kareem Hunt. When you got both of them healthy, that's a wicked combo, man.
and it's something like they rush like 50, some ridiculous amount of the time, like 53% or something like that.
Oh yeah, it's probably one of the
Yeah.
top teams in the league.
No, sorry, they're split 50-50 passing rushing. That's exactly 50-50, but they are number one in the league
Yeah, yeah, that
rushing
makes
the ball.
sense.
So I came across that when I was researching the matchup this week, and I was just like, damn, they run the ball that much.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that matchup, Cleveland and Tennessee. I mean, that's
Yeah,
just like smash mouth football all the way, man.
exactly. I mean, and Derrick Henry's. I was a little down on him after his usage last year, but I mean, he just seems to get stronger as the season goes on.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
it's ridiculous.
All right, so what do you think? Should we switch it over to name that stadium time?
Sounds good.
Okay, so for anybody watching, this is the part of the show that, as you can see, James is on the move here. He's got a stadium in his background. It's a stadium for one of the home teams playing this weekend. And basically, we're asking anybody who's watching if you want to take a shot at guessing what stadium that is. Just go ahead, throw your answer into the comments section. If you're the first person to get it right, we're going to hook you up with a special shout out in next week's show. And so, James, I see what you got going on here tonight. Obviously, you don't want to spill the beans. Can you tell us where you were at last week?
Last week I was at SoFi Stadium. It was one of those things where a lot of the top games, or a lot of what I thought were the top games of the week, were stadiums I already use. Because you had the Indy Tennessee game, you had the Baltimore Pittsburgh game, you had I think there was a third one in there that I already used. So I looked at it and I thought last week was a good matchup with San Francisco and the Rams, so I went with that one. And that was actually probably one of the closest, most entertaining games of the week. So it worked out.
Nice. Yeah, and we talked about that a few times. That when you like a handful of teams, you're going to run out of stadiums fast, and it's tough, especially at this point in the season. But no, I think that was a good pick, and let's see if we get any takers for this week. I'm hoping we do, but if we don't, no sweat off my back, man. Let's flip it over to the power rankings, man. How about you pull up your board and give me 1 through 5?
All right, so at 1 and 2, I have Pittsburgh at 1. I have Kansas City at 2. It's really these teams. It's 1A, 1B. Like, these are by far the best thing. I'm a little concerned about what I saw from Pittsburgh this week, and I almost flipped it because Pittsburgh looked like crap, but I gave them a break because they're still undefeated, and all the rescheduling and ending up playing on Wednesday afternoon, which I was surprised that they actually played the game. But I left Pittsburgh at 1, kept Kansas City at 2. I moved Green Bay up 1 spot to 3. With Green Bay, I think I have concerns about the defense, but until Aaron Rodgers basically fails the team, I think they can do some things. I think it's clear that I was wrong at the beginning of the season when I thought the NFC was going to be the best conference, and it's clearly the AFC is way better this year. Again, at 4 I have Tennessee. I I don't think they're better than Green Bay. They might. Well, it's not that I don't think they're better than Green Bay. I need to see more from them. I need to see it's this team. They're playing really good. Derrick Henry's getting better. Tannehill's still playing solidly, but I still have my reservations about Tannehill.
Yeah. Well, he did have a couple week stretch where things did look kind of ugly, and it seems like he's kind of coming back around. And so, it's just which Tannehill are you going to get?
Exactly. And then at 5, I have Indy, who I dropped down 2 spots. Basically, I dropped them below Tennessee because they got beat down by Tennessee.
Yeah.
And I wasn't impressed. Although going into the game when we were talking about it, I was concerned about the DeForest Buckner, and I almost flipped the pick, but I didn't because DeForest Buckner was out. And with him coming back, the Indianapolis should rebound pretty easily.
Oh, I agree. I think he's a big part of that defense, and when you have a guy like that in the trenches, it can change the dynamic completely. Okay, so flipping it over to my side here. Basically, my board top 5 didn't change much. I got Pittsburgh, Kansas City, New Orleans, and Green Bay. They were all in that order last week. And then I got Buffalo at 5, which got a 2-spot bump. With Pittsburgh, hey, kind of like what you said, it was a little bit of an ugly game. I think it was kind of bullshit that they had to play that game. The league should have called the forfeit like we kind of talked about before. Baltimore just, they screwed the pooch, man. They're lucky they even got to play. But RG3, kind of crazy. He had a couple turnovers, but he did move the ball fairly well on the ground. And then when Trace McSorley came in, he had that one pass that burned him, in the fourth quarter. Ultimately, they got the job done, so they're going to stay at the top of my board. It's still just impressive that you get to this point in the season and you have an undefeated team. Whatever way they got there, good, bad, or ugly, they're still undefeated. At 2 with Kansas City, this is one where really, despite the box score, I mean, they were in control of that game the whole time, and it was a fun game to watch. It was also bittersweet because I had to play against a guy with Tyreek Hill in fantasy. That just fucking crushed me right there on its own. And honestly, I'm curious to find out. And maybe there's been some articles and I just haven't seen them, but I want to know what is the highest fantasy points in a game for a wide receiver, because the dude had 200 and something yards and 3 touchdowns. I got to believe that was pretty fucking close.
Yeah. So ironically, in my other league, I have Mahomes and Hill and Tyreek Hill.
Shit.
And just those 2 players got me over 100 points.
Yeah. It's a guaranteed win, man.
Yeah. It was like, I mean, my opponent this past week wasn't paying attention, so didn't move some people that were out of the starting lineup. But I mean, just getting, like, I think I scored, like, I got 50 points from the rest of my team, and I got 100 from fucking Mahomes and Tyreek Hill.
The dangerous duo. Yeah, that's intense. So then, all right, at number 3, I got the Saints, which, I mean, come on, they basically got a free win thanks to Denver. That quarterback room just being really freaking stupid. And by the way, I like that Vic Fangio threw him under the bus because, come on, you got to follow the protocol, man. Like, not one fucking quarterback followed the protocol, and so it just was ridiculous.
Well, the thing with it was, it was like 20 minutes of the film, like they went in to watch film together, and during like a 20-minute span, they had no masks on and they were eating.
Yeah, well,
that's all it was. And the league kind of screwed the pooch on this too, because they got the film of the facility on Friday and didn't declare the quarterbacks out till after the Broncos practice on Saturday.
Oh, jeez. Well, I didn't know they were eating, but I guess it doesn't change anything. You can't do that kind of stuff in that kind of proximity to each other. And so,
yeah, exactly. At least that's what I heard. I don't know. I obviously haven't vetted that information, but listen to Sports Talk. That's what I heard about it.
Yeah, There's always some fake news out there, but yeah, it's probably legit. All right, so at 4, I got Green Bay. I mean, this past week, this looked like the dangerous kind of Green Bay team. They looked like they were on a mission, and they just stomped on the Bears. It helped them that Trubisky, kind of wanted to give the game away, at least for most of the game. Just turnover machine and just stupid-ass plays. But, Green Bay, they did what they needed to do. They crushed them, and, it's just, what are you going to get in the playoffs? Are you going to get that team that gets an early lead and then gets complacent and then they let the game go at the end, kind of like they did with Indianapolis? Or are you going to get a team on a mission that's just going to beat someone down and never look back? Time will tell. So then at 5 with Buffalo, hey, this team, the defense is finally looking pretty good. And, the offense had 27 points. It was pretty just a solid, affair all around. Okay, flipping it back to you, man. Give me 6 for 10.
So I got Buffalo at 6. They got a 1-spot boost. I have concerns about this team because they seem to be inconsistent, but I mean, they're still winning most of those games. So I got to respect that. I gave Seattle a 2-spot boost. Going into last week, I thought the Rams were the best team in the division, and the Rams were going to win the division, and the Rams had a shot at the Super Bowl. And then you go and play San Francisco, who's QB Nick Mullins.
Yeah.
And you give away the game, and Jared Goff is turning the ball over left and right. And the one thing about that is I like how McVay threw Goff right under the bus on that, and just was brutally honest about it, because normally McVay's not that outspoken, but I digress. But Seattle 2-spot bump. With the running game coming back a little bit, it opens it up more for Russ, and he can be careful with the ball instead of trying to do too much. And the defense seems to be playing a little bit better.
Yeah.
I still need to see more out of the defense, but they seem to be getting it together. Baltimore, I didn't want to kill Baltimore too much for losing to Pittsburgh because they had 20 guys out.
It was pretty
Uh,
nasty.
yeah. So they dropped down 2 spots. I have a lot of concerns with Baltimore. I think, like I said last week, that Tampa Bay is not making the playoff. I think it's going to be very hard for Baltimore to make the playoffs this year.
Gotcha.
New Orleans got at 9, got a 2 spot bump up. I mean, they're playing well without Breeze. They were given a win, but they could have gone in and still screwed the pooch in that game. And their defense seems to be playing better. But then again, you had Kendall Hinton at quarterback, or whoever he is, some guy I had never heard of till he was announced as the starting quarterback. But they're playing better. Miami got a 3 spot bump. My concern with Miami is I was reading that their offense and scoring with Fitzpatrick is somewhere around 18th, and with Tua is 31st.
Ooh.
Which, I mean, it makes sense because like the one big game that they had scoring wise, it was all defensive points.
Yeah.
With Tua is in there, and Tua is doubtful again this week.
Yep.
So there's something going on with that thumb injury. I have concerns of Tua being a complete bust.
Yeah, this is getting pretty interesting, and we kind of talked about it that if Tua didn't come in and light it up and keep him in the playoff hunt, some funny things could happen, man. And then conveniently, or coincidentally, whatever you want to say, he got injured. Fitzpatrick comes back in, and it's like, man, do you really want to put Fitz on the bench when they got a shot of getting in the playoffs?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're a year ahead of schedule on everything, but I mean, I think you might be just best suited to go for it. I mean, the playoffs are the playoffs. You get the rest of the team some of that experience and get Fitz his first playoff start since he's never made the playoffs, even though he's lit it up at times on other teams.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Miami, I'm rolling with Fitz until the wheels fall off, and then Tua can come in because, like you just said, it's the playoffs, man. You got to get in there. You never know. You could have that like miracle run, but if you think for the future, you don't even give your team a shot at making that run this year, and so it's just, I don't know. I would go for it, and Tua can wait, man. He's young. A lot of times these guys, they get better from the bench, and, year 2, year 3, they step up and it's good. So, I just wouldn't be that anxious. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly.
All right. So kicking it over my way, 6 through 10, I got Tennessee, Seattle, Indy, the Rams, and then I got Tampa Bay. Tennessee got a big bump on my board. I moved them up 6 spots, and this is a team that, in recent weeks, I've been hot and cold, and they've had a lot of movement. And I liked this game against the Colts. It was basically a statement win, and I had the Colts previously at my number 5 spot. And so I thought that this was just a good bump for Tennessee. I know what you're saying with Buckner out. You gotta factor that in. I still want to give the credit to Tennessee for I mean, it really wasn't even close. They spanked them. At 7 with Seattle, I bumped them up 2 spots, which was really, some of this was just as much a product of the teams ahead of them losing as it was about them winning because, let's face it, they beat up on the Eagles, which, that alone it's really not worth a 2 spot bump in my opinion. But I love that game. I didn't get to watch the whole thing, but fucking DK Metcalf, man, that guy is just a fucking beast. And I don't know. That's all I can say about that.
Well, I told you about Schwartz and how he was trying to compliment Metcalf and say how said how he's not Megatron or something like that, and Metcalf's like, okay, I'll show you. I don't want to be fucking Megatron. I want to be DK Metcalf.
Yeah,
And
and he just owned Slay. I mean, I just,
yeah,
as a
which,
Lions fan, I like seeing that.
which I did like Slay's tweet after the Lions fired Patricia.
What was
He
that?
just said it was something like, and you said I was the problem
Oh,
or something
jeez.
like that.
Uh, Maybe they both were the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not sure it was one or the other. Um, all right, so at 8, I got Indy. I dropped him down 3 spots. Clearly outmatched by Tennessee, but yeah, Buckner was out, and that didn't help. Let's see. I mean, Rivers. He started the year kind of shaky, and then he went on a really good, steady run. This game he went into it. He was questionable. I forget what the injury was. I think it was like a toe thing or something in his foot.
Yeah, it was foot or ankle.
That could be a factor for a quarterback. You got to use your feet to plant and push your throw. I get that. And so we'll see how that shakes out there. At 9, I got the Rams. I dropped them down 3. Really, this is tough. Like you're saying, I got so high on the Rams in recent weeks because I just looking at them coming out of their bye, I thought, this is the team that I wanted them to be. I was afraid that they were never even going to be close to that with all the changes that they had. But then they come out flat and they lose against the 49ers, which is just a Band-Aid of a team. And so, 3 spots, maybe not enough, but I'm keeping them in my top 10 for now. And at 10 with Tampa Bay, I dropped them down 2 spots. This was really just a poor performance against the Chiefs. Like we said earlier, the box score didn't really do a good job representing it. Kansas City owned them. And, one of the things that I heard a lot about after that game is that, people keep knocking Brady, but people now are finally starting to knock Arians and Leftwich, basically saying, hey, look, you have a seasoned quarterback, one of the best in the game at reading a defense, and you're using motion fewer than any other team in the league. And that's when you really let your quarterback get to see pre-snap what's going on with the defense. And, they kind of just said, like, stop picking on Brady, because if you gave him that ability where you're calling motion and he's figuring things out pre-snap, he might go to a whole nother level. But the way that they're playing it, it kind of puts him, at a disadvantage. And I think there's more to it than that. I just thought it was nice to kind of see the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
Okay, man, kicking it back to you, man, 11 through 15.
All right, so at 11, I have the Rams. I dropped them down 3 spots. A couple things with the loss to San Francisco. Shanahan and McVay basically have the same offensive mind. They learned the game and coaching together. I believe they were in Washington together. Mm-hmm. They run a similar offense, and Shanahan just has McVay's number. I think it was like the last 4 games McVay's lost to Shanahan, or 5 games, something like that. So I didn't want to kill him too much, but I still had to drop him because they looked like shit. A little quirk of my rankings is number 12. Tampa Bay actually got a 2-spot jump, even though they lost and didn't really play that well against Kansas City. I basically would have kept them the same, but there were a couple teams that dropped below Tampa Bay, and which caused Tampa Bay to move up. And the teams that dropped below just had real shitty performances this past week.
Yeah, sometimes you just got to reset the board. I did it like a week or 2 ago with Cleveland, where I kind of thought, fuck, man, they've been floating up there a little too high. And sometimes it's the other way. You just got to say, nah, we're just going to reset it this week.
Yeah. At 13 is one of the teams that had a really shitty performance is Arizona. They dropped 3 spots. There's no way in hell Arizona should have lost to New England. I don't know if Kyler wasn't running the ball, and basically Bill Belichick's plan was to keep him in the pocket and hope he couldn't see over the linemen. So you got to utilize Kyler's skill set and roll them out or do bootlegs or run them for them to win, and they just didn't, and the result, they didn't win.
James, yeah, and the thing that just it chaps my ass a little bit, because every week it seems like I have 1 or 2 games where I override my model, and this was one of my games last week where my model had New England winning, by just like a fucking hair. And I was like, no way. I could not buy into it. And I went Arizona, and it's like, shit, I'm kicking myself. Like, sometimes there's shit in these models that you're like, you got to pay more attention to. But the narrative would have told you all day it's Arizona.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I almost picked New England. My model had Arizona just slightly ahead, and I almost overrid it, and I didn't. So I mean, you go with sometimes you got to go with your gut. Sometimes
Yeah.
you go with your gut, and you fail, but you have the numbers to back up either way. You win.
Yeah, we're making intelligent decisions. We got some science to it. I mean, shit, we're hitting 2 out of 3 basically. That's pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. And well, at 14, I have Cleveland, and the thing with Cleveland, they got a one spot bump, but I just I don't like how Baker is playing.
Yeah.
I don't think he's the answer there. But I mean, they're winning, and I can't. You got kind of got to respect that a little bit. At 15, I have San Francisco. They jumped into my top 15. They were 16 last week. Um, I don't think this is a good team, but I can't put them behind a couple of most of the teams behind them, and this is just kind of where they fell. I don't know what to say about San Francisco. I think I say this every week. I don't know what to say about them. They
Yeah.
they're like on their like seventh string quarterback by now, and Shanahan's finding ways to win games. I think maybe it's just the coaching is making them is overcoming their lack of talent by now, and I think it's just Shanahan, and I have to respect that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. You just can't count Shanahan out. I mean, he's working fucking magic, man. Okay, over at my side here at 11, I got Baltimore. I dropped them down 1 spot. For the majority of that game against Pittsburgh, like we talked about, they put up a pretty good fight despite having Lamar and a handful of other guys out on COVID. Not just small name guys, big name guys. At 12, I got the Raiders. I dropped them down by 1 spot. And, this was one where it was tough because honestly, I really wanted to just crush them on my board. It was embarrassing the way that they lost to Atlanta. And I kind of paused and I was like, you know what? This was really like Derek Carr single-handedly like self-destructing and giving this game away. Whatever it was, he had 4 turnovers or something. I mean, I forget the number, but it was just bad. And so I'm just going to say, we're going to chalk it up to just a poor showing, and it's not like a really good representation of this team. I think they've played good football this year, and this game was just an anomaly. At 13, I got Arizona. I kept them where they were at. I was mildly shocked that they couldn't get it done against New England, but like I said, I did have New England a little higher in my model, which kind of surprised me. In New England's defense, they played surprisingly well, and so really for Arizona, they just stayed where they're at because some other teams fell, and it just it worked out in their favor. But I probably wouldn't have hurt them too much for that loss. It was close. Mm-hmm. At 14, I got Cleveland. I kept them where they were at. You could argue bumping them because they got to win. But to me, the problem was, fuck, man, you got to win over Jacksonville with a third-string quarterback, and it was actually a pretty fucking close game. And, I don't know, like, that just makes, and I know Myles Garrett was out, and there was stuff going on, but I just kind of thought, with how bad the Jacksonville defense is, Cleveland should have just ran it down their throats and had full control of that game, and it should have been like a multiple score difference in the outcome. And for it to be that close made me a little bit nervous, but I still like what they're doing this year. At 15, I got the Dolphins. Hey, we talked about it. Fitz was back in the driver's seat, and they beat down the Jets. these guys, they're the big story, man. They're the big surprise playoff team potentially, and the concern is just what happens with Tua. So we'll see what happens with these guys. Back to you, man, at 16.
So you were nicer to the Raiders than I was. I dropped them 4 spots to 16. I and then now with this week with Jacobs is out, Farrell's out, and another guy's out. I have concerns with this team. I forget the third guy, but it's another. It's a very short-handed team coming into this week. I have concerns about the team. I think this week is a make or break game for them. And they just played like shit. They lost to Atlanta by, well, I don't even remember the final score. What was it, like 38?
I mean, it was embarrassing. I'd have to go look it up, but it was bad.
Yeah, and they didn't show up. Yeah, part of that was Carr, but the team did not perform.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to perform. Maybe Atlanta's a better team than we have them, or we see them, and Raheem Morris is just doing good things. But hey, win the damn game.
And just real quick, while you mention that, I know that at some point we're going to talk more about the Lions and head coaching candidates and things like that. But honestly, from what I've seen about the Falcons since Raheem Morris took over, I hope that somewhere in there they give this guy a look, because there is something to him, man. He's got this team playing really solid football for how much of a shit show it was for the first however many weeks of the season before they made that change.
Yeah, I mean, he's got them playing good, and it just shows that the problem was Dan Quinn. If they would have pulled the trigger last year, at the end of the year, fired him and brought in a coach, this team probably is competing for the division.
Yeah, and it's tough with Dan Quinn because I like the guy. I watched him talk in the post games a lot and all that stuff, and I think he a really smart football mind. He seemed like he was a good leader. Something obviously from the time they went to that Super Bowl never got back into like clicking, and and it makes me wonder, how much of that is him and how much of that was the players also having their own shit going on, and they needed a wake-up call with him getting fired for them to realize, ooh, fuck, man, if he's expendable, that means we probably are too. Everybody better fucking tighten it up a notch.
Yeah. At 17, I have the Giants. I know I'm way higher on the Giants than you are.
That's okay.
They got a one spot bump. The thing with the game with Cincinnati was Daniel Jones got hurt.
Yeah.
And Colt McCoy is not. I'm surprised he's still in the league, honestly. And he's not a good. I don't know if he was ever a good NFL quarterback, but he's not one now. So that hindered the offense a lot against Cincinnati, which they still pulled out the win. Like difference with Vegas, you just got to deal with it and win the damn game.
Yeah.
Chicago, I dropped down one spot, and it's only one spot. Like I can't. I think in Chicago the defense is giving up again, like they did last year, because last year, like week 10, week 11, the defense kind of basically just said, "Fuck it, this offense can't score a damn point. We could hold the team to 13, the other opponent to 14 points, and still lose the damn game. So why am I putting in the extra effort to just go out there and lose?" And I see a little bit of the same thing starting to happen with this team, and it's very concerning. They need to do something with that offense. It obviously didn't work. It isn't working with Nagy. It isn't working with Trubisky. It isn't working with Foles. Who's the third string guy? Just put that motherfucker in there and see what he can do, because the two guys that are there can't do shit.
No, they need to blow it up just like the Lions and these other teams. They've got dysfunction, and it starts at the top. And, this is a team that has a shit ton of talent on the defensive side of the ball. They just have to put together something mediocre on offense, and they're a playoff team every year, man. But just real quick, one thing that I noticed in this last game, and it's not necessarily just this last game, but Akeem Hicks was out on that defensive line, and they pointed it out a number of times in that game that the defense without him, it's almost like the Colts without Buckner, man. That line was fucking exposed, and it totally changed the dynamic of that defense.
Yeah, it did, but the problem with Chicago is the offense is really, really bad. And I've been saying it, and I've been harping on that all year. I finally gave them a little respect. And I think I finally in like week like 6 or 7, and I finally said, okay, I'm going to give them a little bit. I got to respect the record, and it's just been downhill since then.
Yep.
At 19, I have Houston. They got a 2-spot bump. I instantly regretted giving them a 2-spot bump for beating the shit out of the Lions because the reason I regretted it is because I forgot about the suspensions when I did my rankings.
Gotcha.
So this is probably a little bit high. I probably should have left them where they were, but this week they got a 2-spot bump and will probably fall back down next week. It's just I without Fuller, Watson's not as effective, and
this is like the hypothetical doesn't mean anything kind of thing, but it did make me wonder when I saw that, where I thought, man, if Fuller got suspended a week sooner, do you think that the Lions might have had a shot in that game and we'd still be stuck with fucking Patricia?
Oh my God.
Because it was basically Fuller that like changed that whole game, man.
Yeah, no, I didn't even think about that till you said that. Like for some reason, like I heard about it when it happened. I was like, oh shit, and then completely forgot about it until I was putting the rest of my notes together after I did my rankings, and I was like, oh shit.
But here's the thing. It's like a karma thing, okay? The Lions got lucky coming out of the bye week with the super soft schedule, and that basically saved their jobs for a few weeks. But it finally came back around, and the deal is done. So we're moving on, man.
Yeah. At 20, I have New England. They got a 2-spot bump for beating Arizona this past week. It's New England. It's Bill Belichick. I don't think Cam is the answer. I don't think they have their future quarterback on the roster. Stidham looked like shit when he played, or did he? Yeah, when he played. When Hoyer was sucking it up, and then they pulled him for Stidham, and Stidham looked like shit. It's like they don't have a legitimate quarterback anymore on their roster, and it's surprising that Belichick was not prepared for when Brady left, because he knew it was inevitable.
Yeah. But, and maybe this year was basically, I don't know, maybe he thought they'd get lucky and, Cam could be the guy, or maybe he just thought this is the year they're going to bite the bullet and reset, like he talked about their cap issues and stuff like that. And it's, it's crazy, man. I thought he was going to do better than what they've done so far, but, who knows? Let's see what happens next year is kind of what we're thinking. It's kind of what I'm thinking with the Patriots.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, hey, I mean, I got the Pats at 16, so I got them a little higher than you, but we're kind of still in that same tier here. I mean, hey, I should have trusted my model, but it was kind of hard to go against the narrative, and so I went with Arizona, and I got a little bit burned. New England, they've had these games where they look good, and then they have these other games where they just look like they're fucking lost, man. And so, can they repeat what they just did? I don't know. You can't trust it. 17, I've got Minnesota. I bumped them up 1. I thought it was a great win for them. Justin Jefferson, he's just insane for a rookie, man. And I don't really know what to think about Minnesota. I had them really low on my board not all that long ago, and they've kind of just been creeping their way up. this might be really high, and they might collapse again. Time will tell. But I'm going to ride the wave for now. At 18, I got San Fran. I bumped them up 2 spots. Like you covered it really well. You just can't count them out. Shanahan knows how to work his magic, and he finds a way to get wins. 19, I've got Carolina. I dropped them down 3 spots. This one, it's tough. I was bummed out they lost, but it was a good game. It just, I don't know. Maybe I've been buying in too much to the hype and like the story, but not so much on the wins. And I just gotta bring it back to reality. And then at 20, I got Chicago. I dropped them 3 spots. Really the only thing for me to say that we didn't already cover is that, and I mean, it's implied. Trubisky's time as a starter in the NFL, it's done. Maybe he gets a couple games here and there for the rest of the season just because whatever's going on with Foles and who knows. But that game, man, he really should have came in and been a little bit more steady. He didn't have to light the world on fire, but he just came out of there looking crazy, like so erratic. And it just was like, good play, horrible play. Like, what is going on here? It was just so black and white, and you can't play that way, man. You can't be a starter and play that way in the NFL.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, back to you, man. 21 through 25.
All right, 21, I have the Chargers. I really want to be high on the Chargers. I like what I'm seeing. This is an instance where the coaching is the detriment.
Yeah.
I don't think Anthony Lynn is the right coach for the job. I don't think these players have situational awareness. I don't think Anthony Lynn knows how to manage a clock, and they can't hold leads. So they're gonna, as long as they keep losing and not performing like I think they should, they'll continue to fall. At 22, I have Washington. It was a really impressive win against Dallas, but then again, let's be honest, it was Dallas.
Yeah, but it was solid. They beat them down.
Yeah, they beat them down, and with Washington, I see the makings of a good team, and I'm really happy for Rivera because I like Rivera as a coach.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see them making the playoffs is going to be really, really difficult for them because they already don't have the tiebreaker against the Giants. And then if you look at their remaining schedule, like so they basically
it's tough. Yeah.
It's really super tough. Like they have Pittsburgh this week, and then they have I had it, but they have Pittsburgh this week, then they're at the 49ers, then they're
it's
at home against the Seahawks.
Yeah, I'm looking at Dallas right now while you're looking at them. Dallas has Cincinnati, Philly, and the Giants. They've got San Francisco too. But I think, Dallas, for as lost at sea as they are, they're still in this fucking thing. And then, you've got, you were just looking at Washington, which is tough. Philly, it's pretty tough for them. They've got New Orleans, Arizona, then they're at Dallas, and then they've got Washington at home. I think they've got 2 games for sure that they're losing. And then these divisional games, you never know. That could be the difference maker.
When you go through it for these teams, like if it's a 2-way tie between the Giants and Washington, the Giants have the tiebreaker. If Dallas has to win it outright, they won't win the tiebreaker if it's a 3-way tie or if it's a 2-way tie.
Okay.
With anybody.
Well, so here, let's just look at this. The Giants, Arizona, Cleveland, Baltimore. I think 3 out of their 4 they're fucked. And then their last game is Dallas. I don't think the Giants are going to be able to get in. So honestly, I think it's Philly. It's Philly, dude. This is the team that looks like they have the easiest path, but they're also the team that looks like they're like just as much at disarray as Dallas is, where they have talent and just every week they're like throwing games away. So I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
It's anybody's guess.
I don't think Philly has the easiest path. I think Philly has the hardest path.
Well, I'm just looking at.
Philly, because they have the Packers this week, then they have like their only easy-ish game I think is week 15, which is Dallas.
Yeah, I'm just looking at it
Or
as
16.
like here with Washington. I don't think they can beat Pittsburgh. I don't think they can beat San Fran. I don't think they can beat Carolina, and I don't even think they can beat and I don't think they can beat Seattle. I mean, 4 out of their 5 are hard games. For the Giants, you got Seattle, Arizona, Cleveland, Baltimore. It's the same thing. They got like 4 out of their 5 games are going to be tough games, and so I think it's with any of these teams, dude. It's who the fuck knows? I don't know.
Yeah. Anyways, but Washington's only chance to make the playoffs is to have a 3-way tie with Dallas, the Giants, and them. Because once that, like, if you go through it in the division record, the Washingtons would be 4-2, where
Okay.
the other 2 teams would be 3-3. So I mean, it's a hard path to go because you need a lot to break your way with these other teams winning
Yeah.
and winning the right games. But it's just which is sad. Like it's that division is just terrible. It's terrible.
You put it the right way. You just said it's sad. I mean, that's what it is. I was going to say embarrassing, but sad is probably a better word.
Yeah. All right. So we'll digress back to the rankings. Denver, I got at 23. I dropped them 3 spots. The thing with Denver is, while it was from what I'm hearing, 20 minutes or whatever, it was long enough period of time to where they were high risk close contacts, then they couldn't play. But the thing with it is Drew Lock is not the answer. The leadership is not there on the team. The quarterback's supposed to be the leader of the team, and if he's fucking up, what are the other people doing?
Yeah,
and
I agree.
That concerns me about the team. Minnesota, they got a two spot jump. The only reason Minnesota got a 2-spot jump is because I moved teams from in front of them to behind them. I was not impressed at all by the win against Carolina. They should have won that game more handily. They let the defense, they're playing better, but they're playing inconsistent. Minnesota is, and it's just,
you can't believe them.
I can't believe in them. I don't believe when they win that's who the team is, but when they lose, I also don't believe that that's who the team is. I don't know who that team is. Ironically, Minnesota still has a chance of making the playoffs some fucking how.
Yeah.
At 25, I have Atlanta. It's the same situation. They beat the shit out of Vegas. That was more Vegas than Atlanta, I thought. And I dropped 2 teams that I thought I kind of got a little bit too overhyped on them still and behind them. So they got a 2-spot bump to 25.
I gotcha. Okay. Well, I got Atlanta at 21. It's funny. We've done this a couple times now. You're finishing up one, and I'm starting off with them. But I just like what Raheem Morris is doing. He could be legit. I put him up a spot, and honestly, I thought about moving him up further than this, except that I kind of thought that game, like we said, that game was about the Raiders just fucking collapsing on themselves. But whatever. We'll see how it plays out in the long run. At 22, I got Houston. I moved them up by 3 spots. They did assert some dominance against the Lions. It's questionable now. How are things going to be without Fuller? And, who knows? But they looked good. I had them leapfrog Washington kind of just because of, what I saw in that game, and just kind of like you could see the fire with Deshaun Watson. And I just have these 2 teams. I've got Houston and Washington now, like, so dangerously close to each other. I'm having a hard time figuring out which one I really think is better. Without Fuller, I mean, honestly, it could flip next week, and Washington could take that spot. Who knows? But so I've got Washington next at 23. I had them go up one spot. It was the second Thanksgiving beatdown, and I like what I'm seeing from them. The team is totally different since Alex Smith took over, and I'm still just blown away that he's been able to shake the rust off as fast as he has. And this past game really wasn't even that much about him. The running game was great. The defense played great. But he's poised. He's calm. He brings something to this team that it's like a steadiness, and I like it. And I'm excited.
It's not his passing, because like I read a stat where of the 33 eligible quarterbacks, he's 33 on air yards per pass attempt, and he's on pace to be the lowest of any passer since of at least 150 attempts in the season since it was first tracked in 2006.
I gotcha. But
so it's not his air yards. It's just some reason the team's rallying behind him.
He just knows how to manage the game, man. He knows how to manage it, and it's working. And the teams, they're getting behind him. And let's see what he does next year. That's really what I want to see, because by next year he should really be getting back into form. And this could be the team in that division, man. Assuming they hang on to him, which I got to believe they will. At 24, I've got the Giants. I moved them up 3 spots, and this is one where, I think, James, you were all over these guys, and I'm probably not giving them enough credit yet. Part of it, it's tough because they just played Cincinnati, but like you said earlier, Danny Dimes got hurt in that game, and so. It's tough. I like that they're on a 3-game win streak, and I do want to put them higher on my board, but I'm also still just like stuck thinking about how bad they were at the first part of the year, and I don't know. I just got to let it go at some point.
One way to put them higher at the board is put them ahead of the team that they beat twice.
Yeah, you make a good point.
But that's all I have to say. They beat them twice.
I know, but I guess the thing is, when I look at Washington, I see that they're on a better trajectory every week with Alex Smith, and that's.
No, I agree with you. Like, I think Washington possibly is the best team in the division, but they have probably the hardest path to the playoffs in the division.
I gotcha. But hey, thanks for poking at me, by the way. That's what this is about. We got to have some fun with it. At 25, I've got the Chargers. I dropped them down 4 spots. And this is a tough one for me because, kind of like Carolina, I've been high on these guys. I love what I've been seeing with Herbert, but they just can't close games. And the Bills' defense actually really slowed down Herbert compared to all the other teams he's played this year. And so, just for the purposes of my board, it was time to knock him down because they're just rarely getting the wins. And, I'm sure as soon as they get a win, I'm going to be all giddy and be like, oh, I'm moving them up 5 spots. But, for now, I just had to take them down a notch. Okay, back to you, man. 26 through 30.
All right, 26, I have Dallas. I dropped them down 2 spots. The thing with Dallas is this team has so many damn injuries. And everybody that's out on this team would probably make make Dallas easily the best team in the division, easily a 10+ win team. But it's just not coming together, and they're playing. One week they play good, one week they play like shit. I'm going to have to see a couple wins back to back for me to move them up again. I got really high on them the way they looked when Dalton came back, and probably jumped them up a little bit too high. 27, Cincinnati. Cincinnati's kind of tumbling down the board. They kept it close with the Giants. The Giants had Daniel Jones hurt, so It's like, but without Burrow, this team is lost.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that at 28, I have Philadelphia. One thing with Philadelphia, and it was interesting stat I read that Carson Wentz is the problem. Doug Peterson is the problem. They need to get rid of both of them. This year, Carson Wentz is off. His off target rate is 23.3%. Last year, he was 16.6%. So he wasn't that much better. But the difference between the two is at 16.6%, just 7% more accuracy for his passes jumps him up 21 spots on the list for quarterbacks.
Yeah, yeah, that's significant. Yeah,
and he's not getting it together, and they. I told you last week they benched him for two freaking plays. One play was a running play that they just had Jalen Hurts come in and hand the damn ball off.
Yeah.
And the other play was a passing play, which was like a 2-yard passing play. If you're gonna pull him, just pull him for the rest of the game. See what you have in Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
The worst thing that Philadelphia could do is win the division and make the playoffs. They need to complete. That's what happened last year. They thought they were right there because they went on that run at the end of the season, and they thought they were right there. This team's not even close. They need to blow it up.
Yeah, it sucks to say it. It's like you can't even call them pretenders because their record is just so bad. But it's like it's like got so many pieces from that Super Bowl team still, but like none of the pieces that matter. You know, like something just isn't going to work with these guys.
Exactly. At 29, I left Carolina at 29. Yeah, they lost. The teams I have below them, they probably could beat easily. I mean, at 30, I have Detroit. I had Detroit at 30 last week. I almost gave Detroit a bump because they fired Patricia, but then it was like, I want to see what happens first.
I got you.
And so I left them at 30. I think Detroit might be actually better than a couple of the teams I have ahead of them, but we will see.
Yeah, I mean, we're kind of getting into like this just sort of shit tier of teams where they're all just kind of interchangeably bad, and this just isn't going to be the year for them. And probably not next year either. So at 26, I got Denver. I dropped them 3 spots. Obviously they screwed up bad with the quarterback thing. We talked about that. I don't really know that we got to talk more about Denver. They fucked up bad. At 27, I got the Lions. I dropped them down 1 spot from where they were last week. It was embarrassing, but the deed is done, and it's time to rebuild. I just look at all these teams in this range, and I'm just like, I'll put them here for now, but they all kind of suck. At 28, Philly, I kept them where they were at, and in fact, from 28 down, my board has not changed. I got Philly, Metcalf just like fucking dominated them, and whatever. I mean, we already talked a lot about it. 29 is Dallas. Same thing as the Lions. They got spanked on Thanksgiving. The difference with them and the Lions, though, is that, they kind of have like a built-in excuse with Dak being out. If you want to call it that. They weren't really winning with Dak, but, I think a lot of people are kind of like, well, eventually it would have clicked, and they just didn't get to eventually.
Had an excuse. They had Patricia as a head coach.
Hey, there you go. There you go. Yeah, goddamn, he was so bad. And then I got Cincy at 30, and I killed Cincy when Burrow went out. I just don't see them being able to do anything without him. And maybe they'll get a win here or there, but either way, this is like the shit part of the board, and, yeah. But let's go back. Let's go to the dogs of the dogs, man. 31 and 32. Who you got, James?
I had Jacksonville. The thing with Jacksonville is I see more fight in Jacksonville than I've seen in Detroit all year.
Yeah. Fucking Glennon actually played pretty well, man.
Yeah, exactly. So So I see a lot of fight in that team. I just don't see the talent there. Like they have some talented pieces like fucking James Robinson. Who would have thought?
Oh, that guy's a stud.
Yeah. And and then 32 I have the Jets. It's the Jets. It's Adam Gase. I did you hear this week about how Gase like completely fucking lied his ass off to the damn media?
No.
So apparently, and the media called him out on it like right away. It was like, oh, let me see if I can find it real quick. It was hilarious. I have it somewhere, but it's like so it had to do with calling plays, and like apparently the offensive coordinator um, took over plays. Okay, so Adam Gase appeared to get caught in a lie when asked who was calling plays. He was saying the offensive coordinator was, but the media was fucking watching the offensive coordinator, and the offensive coordinator was on the bench talking to somebody or off doing
Oh,
something and not even talking, and Gase was calling the fucking plays or allegedly. It was like, oh
yeah,
well, in the 2 minute situation, I call plays. You were talking about. It was like, no, motherfucker.
yeah, yeah,
You're still calling the plays and you're claiming somebody else is. And he's like, oh, well, I don't want to give that information to our opponent. Your team blows. What the fuck is that going to tell your opponent? Your
yeah,
team still blows whoever's calling the plays.
yeah. They're man. I mean, it's a high probability now that they're going to go 0-16. Uh, their
I'm
remaining
telling
opponents
you,
are tough.
I'm telling you, week 17, Bill
That's
Belichick's going to look at it and
He's
say,
going to
I
throw
don't
it to them.
want, I don't want fucking Trevor Lawrence twice a year, every year.
Yeah,
I'm not playing any of my starters. I'm not going to make the playoffs anyways. Jets, you're going to win this game, and the fucking Jaguars are going to get the first pick overall.
it could happen. I mean, I guess let's look at it. They've got Vegas this week. Then they're at Seattle, at the Rams, at home against Cleveland, and then at New England. I mean, unless Belichick fucking gives him a sympathy win or, his strategic win, whatever we want to call it, this is a fucking 0-16 team, man.
Exactly.
Yeah, all right. So, for me, 31 and 32, I'm right there with you. I got Jacksonville at 31 and I got the Jets at 32. I would love to move Jacksonville up a little bit because I agree with what you're saying. There is some fight there, and I was really impressed with the way Glennon played, man. I honestly, I thought, geez, this guy, he's been in the league this long, but yet he's a third string quarterback. No way does he have anything left in the tank. He never really had anything in the tank to begin with, but this was like probably a career game for him, man. And so I thought that was cool. And how much is that? The Gruden offense and whatever the Gruden premium, if you want to call it. But good for him, man. Good for him.
Yeah.
All right, so let's switch it over to the picks, man. I think we covered the board here pretty well. And talking about our game picks, we always like to just do a quick recap on the last week and where we're at season to date. And of course, we got to talk about our fucking bet. So this past week, we each had 11 wins, and so it puts us at 113 and 115 respectively, which is good for 65 and 66% on the year. It's definitely an improvement from where we were a week ago, where we had one of our shittier weeks of the season with our picks. And we kind of called it going in. But we've rebounded nicely. As it stands, I'm still up by 2 games on the year. But just like we've seen, it's been tight all season. And, there's some weeks like last week where we only have 1 or 2 games difference. And then there's some weeks like the week before where we got like fucking 8 games that are different. And so 1 week could drastically swing this thing one way or another, man. It's going to come down to the wire. And it's coming down to the wire for $100 in whiskey, man. I'm pumped. I'm already like in the back of my mind. I'm like, what would I get? Like I've got these sources now. I found some places that shipped Michigan, and I don't know if I told you this, but I just ordered a bottle of the the Dickel Bottled in Bond, the 11-year. Fuck, man. Rated 95 by Whiskey Advocate. And it was like a $50 bottle. And, I know their pure retail price was probably 25 or 30 bucks. But now that it's highly rated in the bourbon boom and all this crazy crap, I was happy to pay 50 bucks to get that bottle. And, so I'm sure you're thinking about it too, man. You got anything sitting in the back of your mind?
I've been thinking about the Widow Jane again because I need to get some more of that.
So let me ask you, what was the price on the 13-year?
I think it was 99.
Ooh, so that would be like spot on.
Yeah, I'll look it up again, but I think it was like right around 99. But I really like that one. That's becoming one of my favorites again.
Nice.
One of my favorites. It's supplanting some of my. I used to be the 3Bs, the Bullet, the Blantons, and the Basil Haydens.
Yeah.
But I think the Bullet's dropping down, and that Widow Jane's kind of edging into it.
Oh, fuck yeah, man. I wish I could get my hands on some. One day I'll just drive out to California and I'll hit up your store and I'll just fucking load my car up or something. I don't know. But, I do have the 10-year or whatever it is, the other one that they make. And I love that one. But even that, I got to get it shipped from out of town. I can't find it here. So it's tough. But that's Michigan, man. All right, so let's jump in and look at the games. There wasn't a Thursday night game this week. Thank you, NFL, and all your fucking schedule bullshit.
But the good news is we didn't lose on Thursday night like we always seem to. So
that's true. Thursday has been our bad night for the picks. All right, so let's just jump over to Sunday, and let's start off with Cleveland at Tennessee. Who do you like, man?
Everything in me wanted to pick Cleveland in this game. But Tennessee's just playing too fucking good. And Derrick Henry's just playing too fucking good. I think between the three running backs in this game, you could see something like 600 yards of rushing.
It's my kind of game. I like these kind of games. And I hope it lives up to like the vision I have in my head where it's just like smash mouth, just like fucking running nonstop and defense and all this stuff. And, I just want Cleveland to keep it close. I'm picking Tennessee as well.
And one thing that baffles me is I don't know why any defender tries to tackle Derrick Henry above the waist.
Oh, stupid.
But that's another side story.
Yeah, maybe because you're out of position and it's the only thing you can do. That's your only excuse.
Yeah. There's no way you should try to tackle him above the waist. He's too fucking big, too fucking strong.
Yeah. I mean, just look at the Josh Norman thing. Yeah. And Josh Norman's a cornerback, so a little bit different, but he just like fucking threw him, man.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so next up I got the Raiders at the Jets. I have to ask. I just have to. That's how this works.
You have to ask. And you do have to remember that the Jets beat down the Raiders last year. Beat them down. But I can't. I just can't. I just can't pick the Jets.
No way.
So no way. So it's definitely the Raiders, but I'm cautious on it so much because of how bad Oakland. I'm sorry. Well, last year they were Oakland.
Vegas, yeah.
How bad Vegas played in the Meadowlands last year. And this is their second trip, back-to-back weeks to the East Coast. I have severe reservations about this pick, but I'm going to go with Vegas.
I got you. And you know what? I like the way that you broke it down. There is some risk here. I wasn't even thinking it. Like, to me, it's just a no-brainer. The Raiders are going to win, but I'm glad that you dug a little bit deeper because – yeah, there is some merit there that this is the Jets' first win. Nobody knows, but we're going to find out on Sunday. And I just kind of looked at it like, my model clearly has the Raiders like a solid step ahead of the Jets. And even with some of the injuries, I think the Raiders feel embarrassed about this past week, and they're ready to come out and play with a little bit of fire in one of those kind of like, get right type of games. We'll see though. It is on the road, and like you said, that can be a factor. So, but I'm going the Raiders as well. So next up, we got the Jags at the Vikings.
Okay, so I can't pick the Jaguars in this game. A couple things I want to pat myself on the back for how high I was on Justin Jefferson at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
And I told you this at the beginning of the year. If you look at his stats, he leads all rookies in receiving yards, but he's with 82 yards this week. If he gets 82 yards this week, he'll be only the 5th rookie to reach 1,000 yards in his first 12 games of his career.
Yeah.
During the Super Bowl era. He's second in, I believe, rookies in receptions and touchdown catches. I mean, he's just lighting up, and he's filling in perfectly for Diggs.
And this is on a team that basically came out of the gate and did nothing for the first 2 or 3 weeks.
Exactly.
And it's just been nothing but like a skyrocket from there for this guy. And no, I like that you're patting yourself on the back because, I was on the fence with this guy. When I watched his tape at LSU, I kind of thought, how much of this was him, how much of this was the team and Burrow and everything. And I didn't really see him in a lot of the tape I watched getting a ton of separation. And I was kind of just like, man, I don't know, for such a high first round, well, not high first round pick, but for a first round pick, I thought, this guy should be, just dominating in college. And I guess he did statistically. And so there was stuff there. I just didn't see it. And it's good, man. I'm glad. I did draft him in a fantasy league. And fuck, man, I dropped him after week 3, and I've been kicking myself ever since.
Yeah, I think he was where I had him targeted in both my leagues. I think he was taken the round before.
Gotcha.
So I was like, damn, I was just one round late on him.
All right, so you're taking the Vikings. I'm taking the Vikings. I think we're good there. Next up, we got Cincinnati at Miami. If I have to ask, I do have to ask, but
Yeah.
What do you think?
So, I believe I'm at the beginning of the season when I tried to go through the records, I had Miami winning this game, and that was assuming it was Burrow and Tua. Without Burrow, Cincinnati has no. I'm not going to say no shot because
It's slim.
there's only one team in my lifetime that went into a game with no shot to win the game. 0% chance, actual 0% chance, and that was Denver this past week.
Okay.
But so there might be a little bit of chance for Cincinnati to win, but there's no way I can pick them, so I'm with Miami.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, I'm going with the Dolphins in this one, and I'm glad that they got Fitz starting, and I hope they stick with him, kind of like we talked about earlier. Cincinnati, yeah, no Burrow, no shot. That's just the way I see it. Next up, we got Indy at Houston.
This game gave me pause because Houston seems to be playing better.
Against the Lions?
But even if you go back the week before, they seem to be playing a little bit better.
Yeah, no, their offense has been clicking for sure. I just, yeah.
The thing about it is, and for fantasy purposes, I found this interesting. I didn't actually break down the yardage on it, but Deshaun Watson gets 58.1% more fantasy points per throw to Will Fuller than any other player on the team.
Ooh.
So I didn't break down the numbers, but that tells me that Fuller's a big part of this team.
Yeah, that's a factor.
And with what Rivers is going through, I'm not sure how the injury is on him, but I still can't pick Houston to win this game without Fuller. If Fuller wasn't suspended, it might be a different story.
Yeah, and I mean Buckner's back, right?
Yeah, Buckner's back too.
Yeah, I mean I'm going Indy. I just, I look at my board and I have these teams like so far apart. I mean, I gotta run with Indy. I like their defense. Yeah, Rivers, there is some concern there with that foot thing. I just think they're too far apart. I got to go with Indy. Next up, we got Detroit at Chicago.
So even though the Lions in the last 12 divisional games, they're 1-11. I didn't go back to find the one fucking win. I think it was one miraculous win against Green Bay or something like that. But I, even though they've lost 9 straight divisional games, and I just think when a team fires the head coach, look at Atlanta, look at Houston. Immediately after that, they win that first game.
Yeah, they do rally, and I could see that happening with the Lions because, like we talked about earlier, the players, they're already showing support for Bevel.
Yeah. And although if Trubisky's playing, Trubisky's
Oh, he owns the
undefeated.
Lions.
He owns the Lions. And but I'm still going to go with the Lions. I'm probably going to hate myself for this. I didn't even run this through my model. I just went with the Lions, and I don't want to know what my model says to figure out if it was even close. I just don't want to know.
You're going with the rally factor, and
Exactly.
I respect that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with taking that shot, and you're right. It does seem like more times than not it works. For me, I'm going to go with Chicago in this game. And, like you said, if Trubisky starts, he has just owned the Lions. And I like Chicago's defense still. The Lions' offense has been shaky. I think Swift is coming back, and that's going to help. But man, the Lions' defense fucking sucks. And, the Bears' offense fucking sucks. But, they still put up points against Green Bay. And I think they can put up points against the Lions. I don't know. My model's saying go Chicago, and so I'm going Chicago.
Yeah, I don't know what my model said, so like I said, so it's just...
Yeah, you're going with the gut. You're not even looking at the model. I gotcha. All right, next up we got New Orleans at Atlanta.
This is one where the second one I didn't run through the model, and the reason I didn't run it through the model is because no matter how far apart these teams are talent-wise, it seems like it's always a season split.
Yeah.
Atlanta lost the first game at the Saints, so they're going to win this week.
All right, simple enough. I'm going with the Saints here, and I actually completely agree with what you're saying. And I think that Atlanta has a legit shot in this game. If the Saints are starting Taysom Hill again, he's really just not shown enough at quarterback. And that all it takes is the right game, and Matt Ryan can fucking torch a defense. And so I think there's definitely upset potential, but I'm going to go with the Saints. I like the way that the Saints defense has started to pick up steam, and that's without looking at last week. I kind of just crossed that one off because it was a gimme. But before last week, they had a few consecutive games where they showed solid progress, and I'm gonna go with the Saints, man. Next up, we got the Giants at the Seahawks.
The Giants would have almost no shot in this game. They would be best served to just sit Danny Jones down, let him heal for one more week, and throw Colt McCoy out to the Wolves. Seattle's going to win this game easily.
And, I thought I saw that he's doubtful for this weekend, Daniel Jones. Maybe that changed, but I kind of assumed that he was going to miss this one.
Yeah, last I had heard, and it's possible, but last I had heard they were still hoping he could play, which I don't know why you would hope Daniel Jones could play. Just let him come back from injury and let him heal up one more week, because you're not going to beat the Seahawks anyways.
Yeah, they must just be thinking, hey, we're so close, we just got to give it everything we can. But I agree. I think Seattle, it should be an easier win for them, and I think it's an easier win for them whether Daniel Jones plays or not.
Well,
Uh,
exactly. That's why you just and you're right. He is doubtful for the game. I hadn't seen the update. Last I heard it was questionable.
it's close enough, man. I mean, unlikely to play. We'll just say that. Although nowadays it seems like everybody plays when they're questionable. So it's like, I remember back in the day it was like, oh, if you're questionable, it's like, like a 75% chance you're not going to play. And then if you were doubtful, it was like 99%. And then there was like probable was like 25%. All that shit's like totally changed now, man.
Oh, and back to the Atlanta game. While we're talking about injuries, the thing I forgot is that's probably subject to change considering the Julio Jones status.
Okay. Yeah, it is a totally different offense with and without him. And
Yeah,
Calvin
exactly.
Ridley's played great this year, but they're better as a 1-2 punch for sure.
Exactly. So I forgot to mention that until we started talking about Daniel Jones's injury.
And man, because we're back on the Falcons, I've got Gurley on one of my fantasy teams, but man, it just seems like they got to let that guy go because all he does is pound in these touchdowns. Uh, Otherwise, running the ball, to me, maybe I'm wrong. He looks slow. These other
Hmm.
running backs, they have a clear pop. It just like bam, they get to the line, they make their cut, they make their move. I just think they need to switch it up, and it would be a lot better for that team.
Yeah.
My opinion.
Oh, I
Um,
agree.
all right. Well, they're good. I'm not the only person seeing it, and I was hopeful for Gurley to have like a resurgence, and I think a lot of people have been assuming that he has because of the touchdowns. But I think if you look at what's been going on other than the touchdowns, it's been very underwhelming, and it's unfortunate because it's an injury thing. It's like the knee thing and the arthritis or whatever he's got going on, and it's a bummer because when he was in his heyday just a few years ago, fuck man, he was electric.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
All right, so next up we got the Rams at the Cardinals.
So a couple interesting things about this game is Sean McVay's never lost to Arizona.
Ooh, I didn't know that. I love it when you give me these nuggets, James.
He's like 6-0 against Arizona, and I just I'm concerned about how Goff reacts to the terrible week last week. One thing I had heard this week, and I believe it was John Madden that said it. The hardest thing to do in the NFL is to not let one loss turn into two.
Mm.
And I don't think the Rams will bounce back to win this game. Another thing I heard this week is the Rams might have to find a new home
Oh wow. Okay.
because I'm
Oh,
hearing
the California
yeah
COVID
because
rules. Yeah.
yeah because in for the 49ers had to find the new home because that particular county had to change the rules and it went into effect like on Monday or something this week to no practice of any contact sports or no games. So the league scrambled. The league, from what I'm hearing, is the league is already working with the Rams and the Chargers to find them a place to play if it goes statewide. Because
Okay.
we're going back into some form of a lockdown in California, and especially Southern California, because our rates are going too high. So that's a little bit of a distraction, I think, on the Rams side that might take away from their ability to focus on the game.
Okay. So are you
I'm on
going?
Arizona.
You're
I'm on
going with the
Arizona.
Cardinals. I got
Yeah.
you. All right. Well, I'm going with the Rams. I like what you said about McVay against the Cardinals, but I'm going with the Rams. Otherwise, I know they came off a bad loss. it's the 49ers. I don't want to say it was a bad loss. I mean, it kind of is, but it kind of isn't. I just like the overall talent on both sides of the ball with this team. I like their coach. I like everything they got going on, and I just think I just think that they're a step ahead of the Cardinals, and Arizona could catch them next year, maybe the year after. But I think for this year, they're still a spot above them.
Yeah.
And sorry, I got something in my throat there. Next up, we got the Patriots at the Chargers. Who do you like there?
So, even though I'm really down on the Patriots this year, I mean, like Cam Newton, he has 4 passing touchdowns and 9 interceptions this season.
It's fucked up.
And it's just, I have concerns about the Chargers' ability to hold on to any game. And when it comes down to it, like, I think Herbert's a better quarterback, but I think Belichick makes up for that and can confuse Herbert. And I don't see Herbert overcoming the ineptitude of the coaching staff, because he hasn't all year. And I'm going to go with New England.
I got you. I'm with you with the Patriots, and I don't have the stat, but I know Belichick is like extremely dominant against rookie passers, and when you look at their defense last week, their linebackers kind of came out of nowhere and had like a coming out party, and that's huge for them. We know that their secondary is like really like top tier. I mean, they're good. It's just that they've had no pass rush, and the linebackers have kind of sucked this year, and that's exposed that secondary. But I agree with you. I think that Belichick, he can do enough to get Herbert off his game, and Cam's just got to do something, and they can win. So I like the Patriots in this one. Okay, next up we got Philly at Green Bay.
So, seeing as though Philly has no shot in this game, we've already touched on the Wentz problem. The thing I wanted to touch on in this game is Aaron Rodgers, and he's about to set another fastest 2 record.
Oh, all right.
If he throws for 3 touchdowns in this game, or actually, if he throws for 3 touchdowns in his next 12 games, he will be the fastest to 400 touchdown passes in his career.
No shit.
Currently, the record's held by Drew Brees, who has got 400 touchdown passes in 205 games. Rodgers is 3 off in 192 games.
Wow. It's impressive.
Other than that, there's nothing to talk about the matchup. Even though Green Bay's defense has played poorly, the Eagles' offense is even worse, and they need to blow it up. I'll say it again: blow up their team, and just start over.
Here's the thing with this game is that, like you said, Green Bay's defense, they've been suspect, but they've been suspect against the run. They've been really good against the pass, and Philly seemingly does not want to run the ball this year. So unless they change their tune in this game, I mean, this should be a landslide for the Packers. And so I'm just, I'm going with them. I think most people, I would say 99% of people are going to take the Packers in this game. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of Philly fans are taking the Packers in this game. All right, so next up we got Denver at Kansas City.
Kansas City. I can't pick against the Chiefs, especially after that performance I saw last week. There's no way I can pick. Like, Tampa Bay is supposed to have a good defense. Denver's defense is suspect. They play good at times and they suck at times. And I just see another repeat of last week. Lucky you don't play a team that has Tyreek Hill this week.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that I hear about the the defense and, teams that get caught off guard versus teams that play well. They say that when you're playing a divisional opponent, typically your defense does better because they know the opponent better because they play them twice a year. And so I think a lot of people are expecting Denver's defense to put up more of a fight than Tampa Bay's defense did. But man, I thought Tampa Bay's defense was a lot better than Denver's. And but I knew that Tampa Bay's secondary was younger and a little bit weaker. And some of it's the matchup, and it just either way, I think Kansas City wins this one. I was just kind of fucking throwing that out there. So
yeah. Well, if you want to talk about the defense, which last year the Broncos had a better defense, and in the last 3 matchups, the Chiefs have outscored the Broncos 96-25.
Yeah, I mean, not good.
And
96, so we're saying 32 points a game.
Yeah, the margin of victory 24-20 and 27 in those games.
Alrighty. Well, I mean, Chiefs. Just go, yeah. Chiefs.
I mean,
yeah. We got them. We got them at 2 on our board. Arguably 1 on the board. Obviously, we're taking the Chiefs.
Yeah, I just wanted to point that out. You're trying to defend the Broncos defense a little bit.
No, I'm just saying it's the division part of it that could help them not be totally embarrassed, but they're still probably going to be embarrassed. So, okay, moving it over to Monday night, James. We got Washington at Pittsburgh.
So, I honestly was ready to pick Washington in this game.
Wild card.
Until I heard Tomlin's post-game press conference.
Oh, tell me about it.
Did you hear the things he said about this team?
No.
And how they played on Wednesday? They played like a JV team.
Oh.
The reason why there were so many drop passes was because we sucked.
Yeah, so he was saying, hey, we should have blown out fucking Baltimore, and we didn't.
Exactly, and Juju Smith-Schuster said the same thing. He kind of dug it a little bit at Baltimore, how they sent their JV team, and we sent our JV team on the field too, or we played like our JV team, or something like that. Like, so I like that.
Yeah.
On what I see, I'm not big on Tomlin. He always has that game where he's favored by more than a touchdown that the team falters
surprises,
in, and loses. But after what I heard in the post-game press conference, I can't pick Washington. I think he was very pointed at what he said. Washington has 11 days since they last played, where where Pittsburgh has a shorter week, and like all those factored into why I was going to pick Washington. But after the press conference, I heard from Tomlin, he didn't pull punches, and I think this team has a lot of veterans there that can handle it. Even though they won't have Pouncey and they won't have Connor, I'm going with Pittsburgh.
I gotcha. And I'm also going with the Steelers. And I like the things that you're saying. With Pittsburgh, one of the things that bothers me is, Bud Dupree just got hurt. He's out now for the year. And then when I look at the matchup, I do think there are some favorable aspects for Washington. I like that they're, and we've talked about it all year. Washington has a really good defensive line. Pittsburgh's offensive line, they've had injuries. They've been very shaky. Roethlisberger, he's been getting the ball out of his hands like lightning fast. If he doesn't do that, this defense could get to him, and that could be a factor. I still think Pittsburgh wins, but and then with the Washington offense, I think Pittsburgh's defense has been great against the run, but Washington, it's not always about the run. It's like about the run, and then it's about like the passing game to the running backs. And I think that can kind of like maybe work in their favor here against Pittsburgh's defense a little bit. But I still just think Pittsburgh, if they play disciplined football, they're a way more dominant team, and it shouldn't even be close.
Yeah, and the thing with Washington is the stat I had read was something like close to 60% of their passing yards are yards after catch.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I mean, give them the ball and give them the ball in space and let them work their magic, and they've been good at making it happen. Can they do that against Pittsburgh? We're going to find out.
Exactly.
Next up, I got Buffalo at San Francisco, or wherever they're playing. Are they playing in San Fran? Yeah,
no,
at Arizona.
They're playing in Arizona.
Yeah, so again, Buffalo versus the 49ers, let's say that.
Yeah. So what gave me pause about this game was the fact that I hear that because it's kind of like a dorm atmosphere for San Francisco, that the team's kind of coming closer together and they're with everyone because they can't do shit in Arizona really. But I just think Buffalo is a better team, and they're going back to, like, let's say the scene of the crime. They just played there a couple weeks ago and lost on a last second ridiculous touchdown catch. And I think Buffalo's going to be fired up for this game, even though it's not against Arizona.
Yeah,
they're so going to be fired up for this game because they're going to walk into that stadium and be like, "Remember when this happens? Let's go beat the shit out of this team."
Yeah.
And so Buffalo's going to win.
I gotcha, and I'm going with Buffalo as well. My model has Buffalo winning by a good amount, and I think there's the possibility that Shanahan works his magic, but can he do it 2 weeks in a row against two good teams 2 weeks in a row? I'm just saying it's an uphill battle for them. And Buffalo, you called it earlier. They've been a very inconsistent team. And when they play bad, they play really fucking bad. And so, I'm not saying San Francisco doesn't have a shot in this one. They definitely do. But if Buffalo plays good, like you're saying, they come in with the chip on their shoulder. When Buffalo's been good, they've been really fucking good. And so I like Buffalo in this game. And so last up, well, not last up because we're going to go to next Thursday, but last up for this week, we have Tuesday. Tuesday night football. Dallas at Baltimore.
Well, one thing I would like to point out first is, do you realize that at the end of the season, there will have been an NFL game on every day of the week?
Sweet.
Because you had the Wednesday night game this week. You've had a Tuesday night game previously. You have the regular Thursday and Sunday games. You have the Saturday games coming up, and they're playing a game on Christmas Day, which is Friday.
Yeah. Hey, they're getting around, James.
Anyways, I'll digress. I think in the future you could see the NFL expand because if they're getting the ratings, they're getting the ratings, and expand to playing on more days of the week, like after a bye playing on a Wednesday or after, stuff like that. Anyway,
It could happen. Yeah.
So I had to double check my model 4 times on this game because I couldn't believe what it was spitting out. And then I realized that my model was running under the assumption that Lamar Jackson wasn't playing. He could play, and if he's playing, my pick will probably change in this game. But without Lamar Jackson, that offense can't do shit.
Yeah.
And it gave Dallas a slight edge, so I got Dallas in this game.
Fuck, man. I don't like that you do this every week, James. You pick one of these games, and you have very good logic behind the decision, but it's such an aggressive pick. I think even without Lamar, Baltimore's defense is fucking solid. I mean, they kept him in there in that game against Pittsburgh, man. And, I mean, they could
but
win it.
against Pittsburgh, in the game against Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh was dropping the ball. It wasn't the defense. It was the fact that the receivers couldn't catch the damn ball.
All right. Well, fair enough. I'm still going to go Baltimore, but you are making me want to relook at my model. But I'm going Baltimore for now, and we got a little bit of head-to-head action. So unless you change your pick, so we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. It all depends on if Lamar's playing or not.
Yeah. All right, so then the last one is looking ahead a week. At next Thursday, we got the Patriots at the Rams, or, wherever the Rams are playing.
So I initially, when these games were scheduled, New England asked for back-to-back weeks. They knew they had to play the Chargers at the Chargers and the Rams at the Rams. They asked for back-to-back weeks for travel purposes so they could just stay out here. But I think the league has prohibited that, like kind of prohibited it. You have to basically rent out an entire hotel room and quarantine there and run your practices there.
Okay.
So I think flying out here, then flying back to New England, and then on a short week flying back out here is the deciding factor on this game, which gives it to the Rams.
I gotcha. That's interesting, and I like that opinion on it. I do think that's a factor because, you're going one coast to the other, back, boom, 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 pinball, whatever action. I looked at it just as I still think that the Rams are the better all-around team. The Patriots, they've just been too wishy-washy this year and mostly underwhelming. And the Rams have been mostly surprisingly good. They were better than I was expecting with all the changes they had in the offseason. And so I'm going to go with the Rams in this one. And I don't really see this one changing, but it's a ways away. So, we'll see what kind of injuries come up and things like that. And then we'll play with the model. And, if we flip the pick, we flip the pick. But I feel pretty comfortable with the Rams in this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's the picks for the week. Let's move it on here to our question of the week, James. And this one is an interesting one. It's timely because of what happened this past week. And, I don't have a ton of commentary like I do in some of my other questions, but I want you to try and think DK Metcalf, this stage of his career, versus Megatron at the same stage of his career. You're a head coach, you're a GM, take your pick. And while you're thinking, I'll give you the little bit of commentary that I have for this. Because we obviously, as Lions fans, got a very close firsthand look at Megatron and how dominant he was. And it's a shame that he pulled a very similar kind of Barry Sanders, this team just fucking sucks, I'm going to retire early kind of thing. And it's a slap in the face to Detroit because we're just that bad and that dysfunctional. And I feel bad. I wanted it to work with him. And, obviously we want to win and we just can't fucking figure it out. But when I look at these two guys, I'll tell you what the difference is for me. I would go Metcalf. And it's nothing at all against Calvin Johnson because we obviously saw his career. And we don't know if Metcalf's career will continue on the path that it's on, or if this is, a fluke or whatever. You see that sometimes guys, they rise up and then something happens, they fall apart, nagging injuries, or it was just a flash in the pan or whatever the case may be. I don't think that's going to happen with Metcalf. I think he has a long time with Russell Wilson, which is positive. And when I compare the two games between Metcalf and Megatron, Metcalf just looks like he's out there every game wanting to dominate somebody. And he has a quickness to him in and out of his breaks and his routes that I didn't see with Megatron. Megatron definitely never had that killer instinct, I'm just going to make you my bitch in this game, like Metcalf just did with Slay. Megatron was like, I'm going to go out here and I'm going to run my game. I'm going to make my routes. I'm going to play great. Every now and then I'm going to fucking stiff arm the shit out of somebody. But he kind of just did his own thing. And he was a little bit more lanky, I think you could say, with Megatron. And that kind of like was a disadvantage for him, making cuts and things like that. It was almost very predictable watching him play because he was just such a big, tall, kind of long striding guy. Metcalf, to me, looks like a lot quicker, a lot shiftier, and just a lot more fucking dominant. And, statistically, maybe they'll have similar kind of careers. That I don't really know. Nobody's got the crystal ball. But if I was a coach or a GM, fuck, I would be all over Metcalf, man. And it's one of these crazy hypotheticals, but it got me thinking after this weekend with the Schwartz comment. And so I just, I thought I would pose that to you and see what you think.
Well, I'm trying to figure out who the hell the Lions starter was, because I think, and
he had Stafford for a good chunk of the years.
Right. But you said at this stage in his career, Stafford wasn't there till 2009.
Oh, well, yeah, no, and I'm just saying, here's the thing is like you have the benefit of having seen the whole career for Megatron, and you don't know what it is for Metcalf, and I'm just saying, like, if you could have, let's just put it this way, you got these two guys at the same age as Metcalf, and you got 10 years of them on your team. Who do you like?
Oh, no, I get that. It's just where my issue is because of the fact that he has Russell Wilson at this point. Yeah, I see your point about he's faster out of the break and he seems to have that killer instinct. I completely understand that.
But you want to defend Megatron.
I want to defend Megatron, so I'm trying to see who they had, and it looks like it was Dan Orlovsky.
Yeah. I mean, so Orlovsky, was that? I'd have to go back. I mean, it was after Kitna, or was it while Kitna was still there?
Well, Orlovsky started 7 games that year. Oh shit! At this point in his career, for Megatron, that was the 0-16 season.
Okay, so it was the year before they got Stafford.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I'm just saying, I guess who do you like better,
I really want to defend Megatron on this one. I do.
So yeah, that's fine. Do. They're both like two fucking beasts of receivers, man. And I don't think there's a wrong answer. I'm just throwing it out there because we had that that little that little tizzy with Jim Schwartz this past weekend.
I think you're right. I think where it is, it's not out of the breaks because with Megatron, any ball thrown in his direction, he could go up and get it. He could out-jump anyone. He just had the ball control instincts, which is great. Yeah. But I think the killer instinct and it's like, and don't get me wrong, I'm not comparing DK Metcalf to Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
But Michael Jordan had that, like, even if it's not a real motivation, he was able to create that fake motivation to get him to go out there and beat the shit out of somebody and embarrass somebody. Yeah. And DK Metcalf has that ability too. I think he heard Schwartz's comments the way he wanted to hear them.
Yeah, to get himself fired up.
And got himself fired up. And I think that's great. And you're right. Kitna was on the IR in 2008.
Okay.
At some point. I don't know how long he played, but we had Culpepper, Henson, Orlovsky, and Drew Stanton on the final roster.
Yeah.
But that's...
I'm just looking at, I guess, just the two of the guys. You have an opportunity to have a young Calvin Johnson, or you have an opportunity to have a young DK Metcalf. Who do you like? And I don't think you're wrong either way. Calvin Johnson had a hell of a career, man. A great fucking receiver. I just fucking, man, I see something out of Metcalf that I'm just like, wow, I love that fucking, just that tenacity, that attitude, that fire. He was good, but he was also very quiet. And I kind of like that about him because, you don't want a guy that's always showboating either, and you get a lot of divas at wide receiver. And so there's a fine line there. I just, man, what I'm seeing out of Metcalf, the dude's just a fucking beast, man.
Yeah, I think I'd go with Metcalf as well on it. Like, just trying to correct the stats a little bit for the quarterbacks that are throwing.
Yeah.
But I think it's just that killer instinct that overrides it.
I mean, you could take Calvin's stats 2-3 years later when he's like solidly in the Stafford era too. If you wanted to look at it that way. I'm just kind of saying, you got a young guy and you got 10 years with either one. Which one do you want to make the run with?
Yeah, and then late you had those 2 years. The other thing is Metcalf had so far hasn't missed any games. Kelvin Johnson, his rookie year, only played in 15 games. Then later in his year, when in the Stafford era, like 2013, he played in 14 games. 2013, 14 games. 2014, 13 games.
Okay.
Say that 5 times fast. And 2009, he only played in 14 games. 2010, he only played in 15 games. Like,
he's been banged up. Yeah.
He's been banged up, and I think Metcalf has a little bit of a bigger build to give him more durability.
Okay. Well, all right. So, for anybody who's watching, that's the question of the week. Similar to Name That Stadium, if you want to give us your take on who you like better, Metcalf or Megatron, it's a little bit of crystal ball kind of thing. Like, just who do you like and why? Let us know. We're interested to find out. You heard our take. We want to hear yours. That's kind of all I had for tonight, James. You got any final thoughts?
No, you kind of wore my thinking out with the Metcalf Calvin Megatron comparison.
I wanted to give you a heads up on it, but fuck, this week just got away from me, man. And so next week I'll try to give you a little more heads up on the question.
That sounds good. It don't matter. It's just kind of dead air with me trying to think it out. Kind of could be more concise about it if I know what you're going to ask.
Well, yeah, for sure. But I do also like throwing it off just kind of out there because while you're thinking, I get to kind of say my part of it. And then usually that's like plenty of time for you to be like, okay, now I'm ready to give you my thoughts, And so it's, I think it works good either way. But it would be beneficial to you if I gave you the heads up next time. And so I will try to do that. All right. So I think that's it for tonight. Anybody who's still watching, thank you. We appreciate the support. Hit us up with some comments. Give us that thumbs up that you like what you saw, or the thumbs down. Shit, we don't care. We just want to know people are responding and, checking us out. And if you really liked us, hit subscribe, and you'll get alerted every week when the new one comes out. We do this thing every Friday. So, James, it was fun. I'll catch up with you later, man.
No, it sounds good.
Gridiron Grinder. Hut, hut, hike.